Hi, I'm Dr. Damon Adams, Editor-in-Chief of Dentistry Today. I'm here today with Ervin Weiss, the Chief Technology Officer, and Yoram Ashery, CEO of Nobio. And we're going to talk about composites. You know, composites have been a bit of a problem for dentists over the years. They're failing, we know by studies, at twice the rate of amalgams. And there are a lot of issues around it. It can be proper light curing, full light curing, matrices issues, placement issues, technical issues. But a big one is the bacterial issues that we find in everyone's mouth. It has a long-term effect. So these gentlemen and their company have been successful where many before them haven't been in producing a product, creating a product, developing it, and getting it ready for market. It's now FDA cleared. That's an antibacterial composite as well as, I believe, adhesive, correct?
Correct, yes.
Yes, and they're going to introduce it to the market soon, so we want to talk to them a little bit about it. Let's talk to our Chief Technology Officer, Ervin. It's been a long time coming, and maybe you can tell us a little bit about the product and how it came about.
Several years ago, I tested many dental materials for their surface antibacterial properties. And very surprisingly, I couldn't find even one single material that is antibacterial. So I realized that if there is some kind of a dental material which possesses surface antibacterial property, which is not releasing any antibacterial compounds into the surroundings, meaning that there is no decomposition of the material, there is no loss of mass of the restoration, that could be a great dental material, especially for decay and caries lesions in the teeth. Mm-hmm. So the first step was to develop an assay for solids, non-soluble materials. And based on that assay, we screened hundreds of different molecules, different concepts, until we get to this solution where we have a filler material, which is part of the composite.
So the key's in the filler?
Yeah. So it's a specific filler that we add to the composite in a concentration of 1.5%, final concentration. And that filler turns the entire composite to become antibacterial. And this was demonstrated in many, many studies in the past.
Okay. What are the indications for this material? Where would we, as a general practitioner placing a lot of composites, where would we first think of the benefits of an antibacterial composite?
Yeah, I think that the main problem is in the posterior dentition. The trend in the last decade or so to replace amalgam restoration, which used to be a very good restoration, mm-hmm. and now it's fading out due to the mercury problem and other issues, aesthetic issues. And the composite feeling of restoration in the posterior dentition is failing sometimes twice as much as the amalgam restoration. Mm-hmm. So in this regard, there is a big need for restoration which is stable, long-lasting, and does not possess any clinical problem like secondary caries.
Okay.
So number one would be posterior dentition. Okay. Then, of course, you have the issue of special people with special needs, like people with lower salivation or on medication, we have less saliva. These are prone to have more cavities and more secondary caries than regular patients.
Okay. And maybe our patients that have not the best oral hygiene,
yeah,
we're having problems there. That would be
which
another
is
area.
a large part of the population anyway.
Right.
Any high-risk patient is obviously a good candidate for this kind of material.
Okay, absolutely.
Yeah. So just to add to Ervin's point, the uniqueness about the technology is that it's non-soluble. It doesn't release anything. Historically, all the existing antimicrobials kills by releasing something toxic, goes into the bacteria and kills it. That creates a whole lot of problem. It distorts your normal flora. It fades out over time. It can cause resistance. So that's why none of these materials made it to dentistry, and frankly not to many other applications that do need an antibacterial protection. Coming back specifically to dentistry, the uniqueness of this innovation is that it's non-soluble. That means it lasts indefinitely, and it's not going to cause that all collateral damage, if you will, that a soluble antibacterial could. And it fits very nicely within these materials. It's compatible with composites, with adhesives, with sealants, with acrylates, with a lot of different cements. So it's a long roadmap of applications in dentistry. Composites is a great place to start, but it's definitely not this whole story.
Okay, well that's important. I think especially the fact that the material is there as long as it's there, it's antimicrobial. The chemicals that we heretofore, thought about, fluoride release, etc.,
They're not going to last.
they're not going to last, not as long as this. So,
But
yes.
before they fade out, and we know that when you change the microbiome, there are some downstream effects, and nobody wants to mess with that.
Certainly.
So, yeah.
So that's exactly one advantage, major advantage of our product. It does not affect the microbiome. It kills only those bacteria which sits on the surface of the composite, and mainly in the interface between the tooth cavity prepared by the dentist and the composite. So only that area is affected, and it's not affecting the microbiome of the oral cavity.
Okay. We've kind of touched on it already, but dentists, we don't like to change materials, okay?
No.
Once we get used to them.
Oh.
We're creatures of habit, and we get comfortable. Yeah, we get comfortable with materials. So I have to ask you, what's going to motivate, and we kind of touched this on a way, what's the motivators as you see it as a company that are going to push dentists into wanting to go to this new material?
Right. So our approach was, we don't want the practitioner to compromise. Okay. It's not that I like antibacterial, but I don't want to give up on something else. No, we want to provide material which at the same quality and performance as the best materials on the market, plus the advantage of being antibacterial and prevent secondary caries and so on. And the approach means for us two things. One, when we launched the Infinix brand, we've taken several years and a lot of work, a lot of research, a lot of feedback from practitioners to really optimize it to be at the best standards, both from a mechanical performance, from handling and aesthetics, everything. Even though it's going to be primarily for posterior teeth, we also spend quite enough effort also on the aesthetic side. So again, we don't want the practitioners to compromise, just see this as an extra, not as a trade-off. The other thing is that over time, this will be available through other manufacturers and other brands. So the long-term view is this would be standard for all materials on the market.
That's exciting. Right now, with the Infinix materials, what different materials do you offer with this technology incorporated into it?
So like as you mentioned, there's three composites: the universal, high viscosity, the general purpose composite material. There is the flowable, as aligners for small restorations, or also as a sealant, and you have the bulk fill for the big ones. Those are the three composites, and then also the adhesive, as you mentioned, which is a self-etch prime and bond two-bottle system. And they all contain the technology, all have the antibacterial technology particles in them.
And at this point, I know when I spoke to you at the ADA meeting in October, I think there were a couple still not FDA cleared. They're all FDA cleared at this point?
Yes.
Yeah,
yes.
Excellent. That's
yes.
important for your market here. How about pricing of these? Obviously, when we get something, if I buy a Chevy Volt versus a high-end, car by Elon Musk, I'm going to pay different prices. So I know that there's a lot of research goes in anytime there is. Of course, we've got sometimes pricing differences. How is it relatively going to be, while it is an Infinix product, the pricing going to be compared to most composites?
Yeah, we don't want price or cost to be a barrier, so we're going to try to minimize that difference. It is new technology, as you mentioned. There's
Absolutely.
been more than a decade of research in this, and there's also some difference in the manufacturing process, and those has to be covered in some way. We expect the increment to be, I would say, in the 10 to 20% range, maybe even 10%, not more than that.
Okay,
Again,
yeah,
the approach
ballpark.
is really to absorb as much as possible to make it easier for
Absolutely.
the practitioner.
You have to be successful. If you have a great product, we're going to support that.
I appreciate it.
Also, I'm just thinking about the studies which you touched on, Ervin. Is there a place that my colleagues at dentists can go, clinicians, interested individuals that want to, find out more about this, actually read some studies?
Yeah, we have published more than 20 papers around this technology and the concept of the technology. And in the high standard journals, one of them is a PNAS publication several years ago. And that really was a turning point in the understanding that that's going to be a game changer in the whole concept of dentistry. And you can find all these papers in our website,
Okay, and that is
Infinix website, yeah.
Infinix.com.
And-
And that's I-in...
Infinix, that means infinite, Infinix, okay, INFINIX.com.
There you
So
go.
As the way you hear it.
We'll make sure that our viewers get to see that, but that's important for them to know. Absolutely.
You know what?
Yeah, I would like to add that
Yes.
in many ways, I'm a practicing dentist. In many
are. Good
ways,
for you,
yeah,
Ervin.
in many ways, this is a dream comes true. Not for me personally, but for any dentist who really cares about his patients. If you treat any patients of yours like you're part of your family, your children, your wife, you really care about them, that product will make a big difference.
Yes. And you know, that's so important in our insurance-based model. A lot of people practice under, a lot of times they think success is 5 years. And if we do really good composites, we're going to go 5 years. But wouldn't it be nice to be out there 10, 15, 20 years and no recurrent caries? From a bacterial standpoint, it would be terrific. So it's a great achievement. I'd also like to know if I wanted to try some, if the viewers here, I'm sure really interested ones would like to get a hands on a little bit of the material to try. Can that be done and how?
Yes, of course. So we are expecting to release it to the market this summer, around July, August latest.
In the U.S.?
In the U.S., yes. And around July, we will start with a limited free sample program, like most companies do when they launch something new. Folks interested, welcome to go again to infinix.com. They can reserve a starter kit, put their
good.
information, and we'll reach out as soon as it's ready and coordinate the shipment.
We can get in line for some samples then while they last.
You got to hurry up because we did want to limit this before it goes too widely,
Okay.
so the sooner the better.
Okay,
Yes.
excellent. Well, Yoram and Ervin, it's absolutely a pleasure to meet with you here today, and we wish you all the best.
Thank you.
And I think it's an exciting product. It's revolutionary, and I look forward to seeing nothing but success in the trail of this technology you've developed. Congratulations.